Jeffrey Epstein. I think the reason why people are really, focused on this thing, especially now, is because you got the Democrats really pushing for it, which during the Biden administration, they were not pushing for. So I think that's really interesting. Plus, you have someone like President Trump. He prides himself on transparency. He prides himself on getting things done. And I think people are just used to him not being a typical politician. So when you have something like the Jeffrey Epstein case, which involves people that are underage, people are really passionate about, man. They're passionate about protecting our youth, right? And and I think people also have an issue with not knowing, like, is it world leaders that's doing this? Is it our politicians that we're voting for? Is it celebrities that we support, right? We want to know. We want to make sure. So now we thinking everybody on the damn list. And just because people dealt with Jeffrey Epstein does not mean they actually were doing illegal things. It does not mean that. It does not mean that they even knew what this guy was doing. So let's take a look at some interesting things that the Epstein file is unfolding. I truly believe this. I truly believe that President Trump had nothing to do with anything illegal when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein. I really believe that. And I think it's quite interesting that you're getting so much push from the Democrats that maybe this is exactly what President Trump was planning on. But let's take a quick look, man, at Carolyn Levitt. She addresses this.
Jackie. Thank you, Caroline. There's been a lot of discussion about the Epstein files and the president's comments yesterday calling it a hoax. Can you clarify which part of the Epstein hoax is the hoax part?
The president is referring to the fact that Democrats have now seized on this as if they ever wanted transparency when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, which is an asinine suggestion for any Democrat to make. The Democrats had control of this building, the White House, for 4 years, and they didn't do a dang thing when it came to transparency in regards to Jeffrey Epstein and his heinous crimes. It was this president who directed the Department of Justice and the Attorney General to do an exhaustive review of all files related to Jeffrey Epstein, which they did. The Attorney General and the FBI, led by Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, these are great patriots, some of the most trusted voices in the Republican Party movement. It's part of the reason the president appointed them to these high law enforcement positions, and they spent many months going through all of the files related to Jeffrey Epstein, and they concluded what they found in that memo, which they drafted and they released. And so the president has been transparent. He has followed through on his promises to the American people, but he doesn't like to see Democrats and the mainstream media covering this like it's the biggest story that the American people care about. The president has been working so hard this week. On Tuesday, he went to Pennsylvania, where he secured $90 billion in investments for the Commonwealth, for the people of that state. After that, he came back to the Oval Office at 8 p.m. He went in there to whip votes to get the Genius Act signed into law. And because of his efforts, that bill is now going to be signed and passed. The following day, yesterday, he meets with a foreign leader, the King of Bahrain, to secure more investments into this country. And then yesterday afternoon, the president is in the East Room of the White House mourning with parents who have lost their children because of fentanyl, signing a bipartisan piece of legislation. And not a single cable network in this country took that event live and covered that event like they should. Those are the issues the president cares about. What could be more important to the American people than helping families who have lost their children? Those are the issues this president is going to remain focused on.
I understand he wants to move on from the story, but you do have some prominent figures, including the Senate Majority Leader, the House Speaker, voicing support for the files to come out. Representative Massey collecting signatures that would force a discharge petition for a vote on the floor for this. It doesn't seem to be going away. What is stopping the administration from just redacting any sensitive information, grand jury information, and putting out what is appropriate so that the American people can decide and then let this story die?
Well, in terms of redactions or grand jury seals, those are questions for the Department of Justice. Those are also questions for the judges who have that information under a seal, and that would have to be requested, and a judge would have to approve it. That's out of the president's control. He has said, in agreement with some of the leaders on Capitol Hill, that if the Attorney General and the Department of Justice come across any other credible evidence, they should provide that to the American people. The president has said that, and he agrees with them on
Why
that.
did he fire Maureen Comey?
The Department of Justice did, and I would defer you to them.
Interesting. So I think that people are really pushing for this because the president wants to, hey, let's just move on from this, right? And I understand where the president is coming from, but people want to know. They just want to know. Look, if we're being 100% honest right here, the Jeffrey Epstein files was not the main reason we voted for President Trump to get back into the White House. Border patrol, border security, securing our borders, especially with fentanyl and illegal immigrants coming into this country. Another thing that we voted on is bringing American jobs back. We wanted to bring American jobs back. President Trump also said that he was going to disclose, the different files that people are curious about. JFK, Martin Luther King, Epstein. I just don't think that it was paramount on many people's lists. Maybe the people that were victims of it, of course. Let's take a look at this next video, man. They're questioning the Democrats on where was all this outrage during the Biden years, during the Joe Biden administration. Where was all this outrage? Where was all this push for the Epstein files, Epstein lists, whatever? Let's take a look what they got to say, mate.
If you see such a need to investigate this, why didn't you raise it during the Biden administration? I mean, we couldn't find that you made any public comments about Epstein in previous administrations.
Well, I would have been happy to raise it then as well. Frankly, we were focused on so many different pieces, but I have been one of the Democrats that has been consistent on what I call out Republican presidents for and Democratic presidents for, whether it is FISA, reforms that we need, whatever it has been. I've been pretty consistent. War powers. I've criticized Joe Biden just as I'm criticizing Donald Trump. I think transparency is not something that should happen only when you have a Republican president. It is something that we need for both Democratic and Republican presidents.
That's not what she asked you. You see, this is the thing, man, with politicians, man. They know how to dance around the damn question. She didn't ask you all that. She asked you a very specific question, and you didn't answer it.
So then why didn't you call for more transparency earlier during the Biden administration? I'm just trying to better understand why you are so intent now on calling for this.
Well, I think I gave it the same focus that I'm giving it now. We haven't, I think I've released one tweet on this, and you wanted to talk about it, so I'm happy to talk about it here, but it certainly hasn't been the focus. I'm just responding to what I think is a massive switch from the Trump administration around this issue. My focus has been on the big bad betrayal bill, and I will continue to focus on that. But yes, I think that this information should have been released under the Biden administration. It should be released under the Trump administration.
But you didn't push for it during the Biden administration. And you guys see this as an opportunity that Trump dropped the ball, right? Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. Let's take a look at Sonny Holston here, man, of The View. People switch up, man. They they must have forgot the way they thought about certain topics back in the day when Biden was the president, and now when Donald Trump is the president, it's all brand new. It's like, what's this? How come this? How come now y'all asking all kind of questions, man? Now you guys have all this fake outrage. I'm not saying that the Jeffrey Epstein situation is not serious. I'm saying that you guys are disingenuous, is what I'm saying. The Democrats think they have an opportunity to get Donald Trump, and maybe this is a trap. Maybe Donald Trump laid a trap. Who knows?
People were dying for this information. There was some sort of list that everybody thought was going to come out, and who's on the list. What's important for us to note is we shouldn't be repeating names that are on the list, because just because your name has not on the list, but in the documents, just because your name is on the documents doesn't mean that you have done anything criminally
True.
irresponsible or illegal or
Thanks.
civilly irresponsible.
Oh, that you were a client.
Or that you were a client. The
Absolutely.
only really,
Agree with
these
that.
documents
100%.
as I read them, only reflect Epstein's sexual assaults of women and his sexual behavior. So I think that
And Elaine also.
and Ghislaine. And so being named in this suit does not equate to being accused of wrongdoing. And I think that is extremely important because conspiracy theorists seem to not understand or enjoy facts.
Yes.
These are the facts.
There is a list. Trump's name is on the logs, the passenger logs of Epstein's aircraft at least 7 times. That's already been made public. I mean, of course, Trump is denying any and all allegations, but all of that information is out there. Why not just put it to rest and say, release the list?
This has been.
See how they switch up? That's crazy, man. And then people also say, hey, you have the Ghislaine Maxwell lady. Why is she in prison then? If there are no clients, why is she in prison? This this man supposedly committed suicide, Jeffrey Epstein. Why? If he knew there was no clients, why did he commit suicide? Why is Ghislaine Maxwell in prison? So, but anyway, let's take a look, man. Let's take a look, man. I think this is the Democrats being disingenuous.
A bizarre story for 20 years. I mean, the original plea deal that Acosta did in the Southern District of Florida, letting the state set up a deal where he walks in and out of prison. He works out of his office in Palm Beach. You have that part of the story. You have part of the story where, and we talked about it in 17, 18, 19, like we kept asking, why is this guy walking free? At the same time, Julie Brown was writing her extraordinary stories for the Miami Herald. But so many questions. But obviously, one question, you're saying release the files now. Why didn't the Biden administration, why didn't Merrick Garland release the files from 21 to 25? And if they didn't release the files then, why should they be released now? Could have gotten that from 21 to 25 when Democrats controlled the DOJ. Why? It was a crisis then. It's a crisis now. Why didn't Democrats call for it from 21 to 25?
So, I mean, you'd have to go back and look specifically at particular prosecutorial decisions and what was taking place in terms of the other cases. So I don't know. We could try to reconstruct that.
If you see such a need to investigate,
I think it's interesting. Those are fair questions. You guys are pushing for it now, but you didn't push for it during the Biden administration. It makes me wonder, are you guys just trying to capitalize on an opportunity? You see that there's an opportunity here. You feel that President Trump and his administration dropped the ball. They made a huge mistake. So you're like, okay, we see an opportunity to go ahead and gain some momentum here, possibly get better polling, because this is all about politics, right? I wonder if some of these people actually really care. Do they really care about the victims? Do they? Or do they care more about trying to make President Trump look bad and try to apply pressure and go ahead and get their polling numbers up? It just makes me wonder, man. Makes me really, 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 really wonder. But this next one here is Cuomo. He's actually interviewing Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer. Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer has something very interesting to say about what's going on with the Jeffrey Epstein case file. And it actually makes a lot of sense when you think about it. Think about this, man. If you are a criminal, if you're doing crimes that can land you in prison. I mean, I don't know how well connected Jeffrey Epstein is. There's plenty of rumors out there that he was Mossad or he was an agent for them. But my thing is this: why would he have a list and basically admitting, hey, these are my clients for this service, right, that I'm providing? Why would you do that? I mean, why would a drug dealer do that? Why would I don't know. Why would someone who is dealing in, sex trafficking, why would they do that? Or someone who's dealing in human trafficking or human body parts? I mean, let me go ahead and put this list down. I don't know. That never made sense to me. Like, why would I have a list? Why would you have a list? I don't know. I don't know. But let's take a look at what Epstein's lawyer is saying.
Is the government hiding a client list or anything that the Trump administration could release tonight?
No, there is no client list. There never has been a client list. A client list suggests that Jeffrey Epstein made a list of people to whom he trafficked women. What there is a redacted FBI affidavit from accusers. There are several of them.
Okay.
From accusers
That makes sense.
accuse Jeffrey, that accuse various people of having improper sex. And that has been redacted. The name.
Okay, so that's what people want to see. People want to see that. Okay, it's been redacted. Listen, we want to see who the perpetrators are, man. We don't want to know if there's victims on there that they don't want to disclose who those victims are. Fair. That's fair. We want to know who the criminals are. We want to see that.
Names of the people accused have been blacked out. Now, of course, because I was the lawyer and I did only investigations, I know who all these people are. I could figure out, based on everything that I saw, who Mr. X is, Mr. Y is, and Mr. Z. I can tell you right now, none of them are public figures who are currently in office. Some of them were previously in office. Some of them are dead. But there is no client list. And the redactions could be undone if you go to court. So many of the things that are being suppressed are being suppressed by two judges in Manhattan. And they're doing it largely to protect the alleged accusers who are, in the view of the judges, victims, even though we don't know what their actual status is. But the judges have issued orders, which is why I can't disclose things I'd love to disclose, saying that you can't disclose this information. But Pam Bondi and the Justice Department and Donald Trump are not responsible for that. I don't know of any information that they could disclose that they haven't disclosed. Now, maybe there is some, but I'm simply not aware of it. And so I think it's important to place the blame where the blame deserves to be placed. The vast majority of people who are in the files, and I know them all, I've seen all the names, the vast majority of them have already been disclosed. They're in articles all over the world, they're in books that have been written. So if we got everything, you would be shocked how few names are there that haven't already been disclosed. The media hasn't, by the way, done a good enough job in finding the people who have been disclosed in the public record. So that's that list. Then there's the videotapes. People say there must be sex tapes. I know the whole story there. There is a videotape, maybe several videotapes. They came under the following circumstances. Before any of this happened, Epstein was robbed by one of his employees of money and of a licensed gun, and he called the Palm Beach police, and they installed video cameras, not in the bedrooms, but in the living room. And those video cameras recorded some people, but there's no sexual allegations there. So there's nothing to that. And then there's Tucker Carlson's absurd allegations about the Mossad. There I know it from very, very personal experience. Why? I was representing Jeffrey Epstein. I asked him about everything, including whether he had any contacts with intelligence agencies. If he had, he would have been dying to tell me that, because I could have used that to get him a better deal. If he had worked with the Mossad or the CIA, that would have been golden for me. But of course he said no. And then I checked it with my sources in Israel. Let me clear, I once represented the Mossad when 5 Israeli Mossad agents were captured in Cyprus. The head of the Mossad asked me to represent them. I did. I got them out, and the Mossad sent me a congratulatory note. I'm friendly with many of the people who have been heads of the Mossad. I'm not going to tell you who my sources are, but I can tell you with absolute certainty he had no connections to Mossad. He only got connected to Israel very late in this when he met Ehud Barak and he made business dealings with him. but there was no connection to Mossad. The reason that story generated is because his girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell's father, probably did have a connection to Mossad, Robert Maxwell, but it had nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. And as far as the suicide is concerned, of course it was a suicide, but it was a suicide, I believe, assisted by jailers. It was not a suicide that he could have committed alone. I think the jailers had something to do with his cellmate being dismissed, with the cameras being turned off. So there are things that can be hidden, but there's no smoking gun here, and there's no fault on the part of this administration, as far as I can tell.
So, Professor, we both know, like, the answer to why Carlson and these other guys are now using Epstein as an article of convenience is because it works. For them to say he's a Mossad agent, it's a great way to advance and keep relevant the anti-Zionist movement that's going on right now. I've never seen conservatives, you know, this Charlie Kirk thing that they just did, you know, it used to be puzzling to me why the evangelicals loved Israel so much until I understood the whole nature of the rapture and all this second passion and all this stuff. But now you've got this wing of conservatism that seems to be matching this wing of liberalism where they all hate Israel. So Tucker's riding that wave, and this is now an article of convenience for him with Epstein. But what I don't understand is, why doesn't Bondi say what you just said? I get why the president doesn't want to own this, frankly. But why doesn't she say, it's not on me? What I had on my list is this FBI thing that's redacted that I thought I could get unredacted, but I can't. I got to go to court, and I'd have to fight it out with these two judges, and it's not going to be easy. Why doesn't she just say that?
Well, I think she should say it. There may be reasons why she can't say it, because there are restrictions on what an attorney general can say about potentially pending cases. But I think there's enough that she could say. And I think it's true if she said that there are these judges. Now maybe the answer is she should go along with the media and make applications to the judges to unredact and to make these things public. And maybe your station should do the same thing, and other stations, because I don't think this should be kept. As you know, from day one, I said everything should be disclosed. I waive all my rights of privacy. I waive all my rights of confidentiality. Anything. Please disclose everything, because I knew that disclosing everything would, of course, exculpate me. And they haven't. And so I'd like to see everything come out now. Now, here's one problem. So you have people who accuse other people. We don't know how many of those are true, how many of those are false. So if you're going to disclose the names of people accused, you also have to disclose information about the accusers. And the judges don't want to do that because they want to protect the victims. And that's right. And so you can't have it one way.
Professor Dershowitz, thank you very much. I wish everybody would just listen to you tonight and take it as...
So Alan Dershowitz is a prominent American lawyer, legal scholar, and author, best known for his work in constitutional law and civil liberties, as well as high-profile criminal defense cases. Let's take a look, man. He was O.J. Simpson's appeals team, Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah. So you have this lawyer that's telling you, hey, there is no such thing as a client list, but there is, you know, victims who have testified that, hey, these are people that did, you know, these awful things. So you have redacted information that we want to go ahead and say, hey, listen, we want to see it. But I do understand both sides of it, right? What he just said. If you have accusers, then if you're going to go ahead and disclose the names of these people that potentially did these crimes, then you have to disclose the information on the accusers and their background, because we do know this. And I'm not saying that, you know, these people are lying. I'm just saying that there's a possibility that you have some people that are telling 100% truth, and you have some people that are opportunistic, right? Maybe they're lying. We've actually seen this happen multiple times, especially with people who have a lot of money. Not saying that Jeffrey Epstein is innocent. I think we all can, I think the consensus is that Jeffrey Epstein is a piece of you know, this dude has a history of doing stuff like this. I'm talking about the people that are being accused in this file. I'm sure there's plenty of people that are guilty, but man, maybe there's one or two people in there that's named that's not. That's being accused, what I'm saying. But Jeffrey Epstein, he's a billionaire. He dealt with a lot of people. And I guarantee you this, the majority of those people had no idea that Jeffrey Epstein was this way. I can guarantee it, man. Because, you have a lot to lose. You're going to have some people that are dumbasses and they want to partake. But you're going to have a lot of people that built up their wealth, got a lot of money, they're good family men, family women, whatever. They want no parts or no BS. Like, no, I had no idea you was moving like that in the world. We don't want nothing to do with you. And it sounded like that President Trump treated him like that. He's like, look, I'm done with you. From what I understand, if I got my information correctly, he had no more dealings with after he found out certain information about him. He had no more dealings with him, and I think he testified on behalf of some of the accusers from what I remember. So let's take a look at this last part here, man. You got Pam Bondi, who is given the green light by President Trump. President Trump said, "Listen, release everything that we legally can release. Obviously, if there's more stuff like the redacted information, they want to get that unredacted. Of course, like the attorney said, look, there's a process. There's steps we got to take. We can't just do this." So President Trump is telling Pam Bondi, look, if there's information we can release it all.
The nation's capital. This is the National News Desk, America's News. Now, good evening. I'm Dee Dee Gatton. We are following breaking news tonight. The president has asked Attorney General Pam Bondi to release more Epstein files. Let's get straight over to Ryan Smith with what exactly this means, Ryan.
Breaking here tonight is happening in just the past hour or so. In his most recent Truth Social post online, President Trump now saying he has directed the DOJ to produce, quote, any and all pertinent grand jury testimony on Jeffrey Epstein's case. Attorney General Pam Bondi responding late tonight, stating, quote, we are ready to move the court tomorrow to unseal those grand jury transcripts. Now, the Wall Street Journal so far reporting on a letter bearing Trump's name given to Jeffrey Epstein allegedly in the year 2003 as part of a collection of letters for his 50th birthday. Now,
isn't this convenient? This is convenient that this letter is coming out now. Like, okay, well, President Trump is saying, hey, we need to move beyond this Jeffrey Epstein situation. He takes up way too much of our he living rent free in a lot of our minds. So now all of a sudden they're coming up with this letter that President Trump vehemently denies.
According to the Journal tonight, it contains several lines of typewritten text along with the outline of a naked woman, which appears to be hand-drawn with a, quote, heavy marker. Trump's signature is allegedly squiggly, Donald, below her waist. The letter concludes, according to the Journal, with, quote, happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret.
Convenient. So Donald Trump wrote this. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret. Everything that's surrounding Jeffrey Epstein just seems like it's criminal, right? It just seems like this guy was just really, really deep into it, man. And now all of a sudden they conveniently find this letter. Convenient.
President Trump responding in a lengthy post on Truth Social tonight, saying he warned the Journal and Rupert Murdoch personally that the letter was a fake. And if printed, he states, they are going with a false, malicious, and defamatory story anyway. President Trump will be suing the Wall Street Journal, News Corp, and Mr. Murdoch shortly. Vice President J.D. Vance.
Which is interesting because President Trump is on a winning streak. He sued ABC and won. He sued CBS and won, and he sued another media outlet. I forget who it was, but he won that as well. So he said, hey, look, Rupert Murdoch, look, man, I've already explained this to you. You guys want to sit up here and play games? I ain't the one to be played
He's
with.
Also pushing back on the story tonight on X, calling the reporting complete and utter BS. He states here, where is this letter? Would you be shocked to learn they never showed it to us before publishing it? Does anyone honestly believe this sounds like Donald Trump?
And today,
You want to know what's funny? So you see what J.D. Vance, he posted, right? You will have certain media outlets, which is funny, it's the liberal media outlets. You know what they say? Oh, J.D. Vance is calling for the letter. J.D. Vance wants this letter exposed. You see what I'm saying? JD Vance is questioning the validity of it, and he doubts that the president has ever written anything like this. This is what JD Vance is saying. But you'll have you will have legacy media over here saying, "Oh, JD Vance, he's trying to distance himself from President Trump." JD Vance is asking for this letter. Look, it is all in the delivery. All of it is in the delivery, right? Interesting, man. I do want to say this. Well, I'll say this.
Memo, former Jeffrey Epstein prosecutor who was fired yesterday, Maureen Comey, sent a memo to her colleagues at the Manhattan U.S. Attorney's Office urging them to not let their decision-making be impacted by fear and abuse of power. The daughter of former FBI Director James Comey wrote, "Do the right thing, the right way, for the right reasons, without fear of retribution and without favor to the powerful." Comey worked as prosecutor for Epstein's associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, and most recently for Sean Diddy Combs. Comey said that she was not given a reason for her fire.
I think it's interesting, man. This whole thing is interesting. And I think for most Americans, this is not like this is not paramount, right? This is something that's not really pressing in our lives, man. Not like, government stealing your taxes or your taxes being raised or, stuff like that. The things that were pressing to us is being able just to live, man. Cost of living. People are talking about, hey, look at how much it costs to rent a place. Look how much it costs to buy a home. Look how much gas is. Look how much eggs is. This is not one of the things that's paramount. Okay. We do want to know. And I really believe this is the reason why, because you're dealing with underage people, and quite possibly it could be politicians that we support and that we vote for and that we look to for leadership. It could be those people that have done this. It could be other world leaders that have done this. It could be celebrities that we have been an integral part in their success, right? There's certain celebrities we just support them, and we post and repost, go to the whatever they're involved in. We support them, right? If they are involved in stuff like this, man, it would just devastate us. Like, man, we love you, and well, we think we do. I think we're too in love with our celebrities, if you ask me. And I think that celebrities think that their political views are more important than it is. But you're going to have some people that's going to believe anything these celebrities say. But if you have celebrities that's doing this to underage people, we want to know, because we don't want to support those people anymore, right? I mean, that's what this is all getting to. But as far as our everyday lives, I don't know if this cracks the top 10.